Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Today we are reading from the book called The Light of the Bhagavat. Anybody knows this book, Light of the Bhagavat? Okay, I will give you a little history. Srila Prabhupada has prepared this book for Oriental people. Actually, everybody understands English? Yeah? Is there any arrangement for translation if somebody doesn't understand English? Huh? Everybody's okay with English? Yeah? Okay. So, there was a symposium for the cultivation of human spirit in the 60s, and Srila Prabhupada has taken a chapter called The Description of Autumn. It is one of the chapters in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it gives beautiful metaphors, comparisons from the nature and phenomena in the society, phenomena in the material world. So Srila Prabhupada has prepared it for Oriental people, but somehow he never made it. He never actually went to that conference. And later his disciples have discovered this manuscript, which was typed on the old style typing machine. And Bhaktivedanta Archives once sent me the original scan of the original typed material, but unfortunately I don't have it anymore. You can see how they were edited, corrected the text. I mean, you have to edit the text sometimes. And they have created a book. But this book needed illustrations because there were so many descriptions of nature, beautiful descriptions of nature. Jai, Haribo. And one very famous Chinese artist, one lady, I forgot her name, she actually took this task to illustrate every verse, 48 verses. She made 48 paintings. This was, I would say, maybe the pinnacle or the culmination of her career as an artist, because she has made something for Krishna, at least from our point of view. This was the greatest success of her career. So devotees have combined this. Unfortunately, I don't have it to show it to you, but if you send me an email or contact me on Facebook, my Facebook is Gita Seva, 2 words, Gita Seva, then I can send you a link to the G Plus page. G Plus is an attempt of Google to have Facebook, but it didn't work anyway. But they still have, and somebody has put the whole book with all the illustrations, all the purports, all the verses online on G Plus. So you can see all the photos, all the pictures, and you will have all the texts. And this book is one of my favorite Srila Prabhupada's books, because in 48 verses in purports he describes amazing things. He speaks about leadership, about Mayavadi philosophy, about Varnashram system, about cow protection, about people from different religions cooperating. So many things are there in this one little book, and you can use it, you can give it to intelligent people, to artists. I think everyone will appreciate this book. It's written actually for people who are not so close to Krishna consciousness. So we will read the first verse and the purport, and this is very significant for us because it speaks about a hope for a new way of life. So we have attempted to start a new way of life in Krishna consciousness, and we have a great hope that we will succeed, that we will gain something by this. So first we will read the verse from the Bhagavatam. The arrival of clouds accompanied by thunder and flashes of lightning all over the sky provides a picture of life-giving hope. Covered by deep bluish clouds, the sky appears artificially dressed. The thunder and lightning within the clouds are signs of hope for a new way of life. The serene sky, limitlessly expansive, is compared to the absolute truth. The living entities are truths manifested in relation with the modes of material nature. The deep bluish cloud covers only an insignificant portion of the limitless sky, and this fractional covering is compared to the quality of ignorance or forgetfulness of the real nature of the living being. A living entity is as pure as the limitless sky. He becomes covered by the cloud of forgetfulness, however, in his tendency for enjoying the material world. Because of this quality, called tamas, ignorance, he considers himself different from the absolute whole and forgets his purity, which is like that of the clear sky. This forgetfulness gives rise to separatism in false ego. Thus, the forgetful living entities, individually and collectively, make sounds like thundering clouds. I am this, it is ours, or it is mine. This mood of false separatism is called the quality of rajas, and it gives rise to a creative force for separate lordship over the mode of tamas. The flash of lightning is the only beam of hope that can lead one to the path of knowledge, and therefore it is compared to the mode of sattva or goodness. So when you see the lightning in the sky, you can remember that we have a hope. We have a hope to achieve self-realization in this lifetime. The limitless sky, or the all-pervading absolute truth, Brahman, is no different from the covered portion of the sky. But simultaneously, the whole sky is different from the fractional portion that is liable to be covered by the dark cloud. The cloud, accompanied by thunder and lightning, cannot possibly cover the limitless sky. Therefore, the absolute truth, which is compared to the whole sky, is simultaneously one with the manifested living being and different from him. The living being is only a sample of the absolute truth and is prone to be covered by the circumstantial cloud of ignorance. There are two parties of philosophers, generally known as the monists and the dualists. The monist believes that in the oneness of the absolute truth and the living entity, but the dualist believes in the separate identities of the living being and the absolute truth. Above these two classes of philosophers is the philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, or the truth of simultaneous oneness and difference. This philosophy was propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his explanation of the Vedanta Sutras. The Vedanta is the medium of philosophical interpretations, and thus the Vedanta cannot be the absolute property of any particular class of philosopher. A sincere seeker of the absolute truth is called a Vedantist. Veda means knowledge. Any department of knowledge is called a part of the Vedic knowledge, and Vedanta means the ultimate conclusion of all branches of knowledge. As philosophy is called the science of all sciences, Vedanta is the ultimate philosophy of all philosophical speculations. So this is the book Light of the Bhagavad, verse 1, and we have this first metaphor, first comparison, and with the thunder and the lightning in the sky. And the sky is cloudy when there is thunder, and then lightning sometimes appears. In the other section of this book, it is said that the appearance of the Lord or his representatives in the material world is compared to the appearance of a rainbow. How many of you like rainbow? To see the rainbow? How many of you have seen two rainbows at once? Yeah? So when Krishna appears, or his pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, this is compared to the appearance of a rainbow in the sky. And rainbow is so beautiful. Sky is grey, after the rain still is grey, or maybe it's starting to clear a little bit, but then when the rainbow appears, everybody is very much attracted. And it's a beautiful natural phenomenon. It's actually Krishna's artistic work, the rainbow. So now maybe you don't see so often thunder, you don't see the lightning here. In some countries you can see it more often. But whenever you see it, you can remember that this is like appearance of the mode of goodness in the tamasic and rajasic material world. So we need goodness in our life. When we were driving here, Bhakta Sugi asked me about psychology. Shall we learn something from there, apply something from there, and how this relates to Krishna consciousness? Devotees read sometimes other books, and sometimes they become so attracted to these other books because they feel understood by the author. They feel that this author knows what I'm going through, and devotees don't. So sometimes we become so attracted to these other philosophies that they become our new religion, and we even give up Krishna consciousness. So it may be this system, that system, it may be astrology, it may be all kinds of systems for personal development, personal improvement, self-help. So once people were questioning what I do life coaching, and they were thinking that this is some new age thing or this is something bogus. So once I wrote an article called "What Do I Think of Self-Help?" and I explained there that we can find some value in what other people do. We can learn something from other people, how to be a better human being, how to be in goodness. But everything that people do in the material world is tinged with passion and ignorance. So it's not pure goodness. So therefore it's not attractive for us. It's like you have a sand in the sweet rice. So yes, we can learn from people. For example, I have learned from some people who are not devotees. They are pious people, they believe in God. I have learned how to build trust. There are certain things that build trust, and certain things that take away trust or decrease trust. And Srila Prabhupada said that we should build our relationships and our cooperation on love and trust, but we didn't exactly know how to build trust. Now, one obvious way to build trust is if you are a good example. Then people will tend to trust you. If you practice what you preach, people will tend to trust you. But there is one simple thing that everybody will agree with, that will trust, is if you make a promise and keep it, trust grows. If you make a promise and keep it, then the trust of the other person will grow. Similarly, if you make a promise to yourself that tomorrow I'm going to get up, tomorrow I'm going to chant my rounds early, and you do it, your trust in yourself grows. Self-trust or self-confidence. So make a promise and keep it. Make a promise and keep it. Courage. So there is some goodness, there are certain things that we can learn, but this goodness, which is in the material world, is always tinged with passion and ignorance. And the goodness that we are interested in is Vishuddha Sattva or Shuddha Sattva. It means pure goodness. It means that there is no traces of passion and ignorance, rajas and tamas. There is no traces. There is no traces of rajas and tamas. We are interested in pure goodness. So there is some value, we can learn certain things, but we don't take these systems as a new religion and something that we surrender completely to. We want bhakti. We want to develop bhakti. So these different systems, they cannot give you bhakti. And Krishna consciousness and practicing Krishna consciousness can give us bhakti. So this is one thing that is described here, that there is goodness and there is passion and there is ignorance. And how is ignorance manifested? Ignorance is manifested through janasya moho yam aham mameti. Janasya moho. All people are in illusion. How? Yam aham mameti. I and mine. I am this body, and everything that is related to this body is mine. This is the ignorance of the conditioned soul. He thinks himself the proprietor, he thinks himself the controller, he thinks himself the enjoyer, and he's trying to imitate God, and in all these attempts, he or she is actually losing and suffering. So you will find many teachers who are presenting themselves as representatives of the Vedic culture, as new gurus, whether from India or from the West, and they dress in orange, but they will not speak about the false ego as much as Srila Prabhupada spoke. They will not give restrictions. Srila Prabhupada said, therefore, I don't have so many followers because I have given some restrictions. So how can you know that something is different? That it's not cheap. It's not cheap. You have to pay the price. So not many people will step forward to buy diamonds because they don't have money to pay. Similarly, not very many people will step forward to get bhakti, pure bhakti, because there is a price to be paid, and this price is described as Shraddha or transcendental faith. Shraddha Matra Loyedem Paramananda Dalalera Gita, I think from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, glorifies Lord Nityananda and speaks that Shraddha is the price. Shraddha Matra Loyedem Paramananda. For Paramananda, supreme bliss, the price is Shraddha or faith. And we know from Srila Rupa Goswami that another price is Lolyam or greed. Greed. Intense desire or how you say eagerness. Great eagerness to achieve Krishna consciousness to achieve bhakti. So Shastra describes very clearly, and also through the examples of nature we can understand these concepts. He very clearly describes our conditioning. In this very first verse, Srila Prabhupada explains this, and he's also explaining about the oneness, that people, there is monists and dualists, and monists that want to merge with God, and dualists see that God is a separate being than themselves, and then qualitatively we are one, but quantitatively we are different. We are very small and He is unlimited. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. So Chintya Veda Veda Tattva means that we are qualitatively one and quantitatively different than the Supreme Lord. And now there is amazing verses later that describe, for example, compare the mountain. How many of you climb mountains? We are not so much into climbing. In Switzerland you have mountains. So mountains are very strong. Nobody can move them. So determination of a devotee is compared to these huge mountains which are immovable. So when we see a mountain, we can remember that I can be determined as this mountain, unshakable in my desire to make advancement in Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. In this book, Srila Prabhupada speaks a lot about leadership. And there is something very interesting there. Usually we blame leaders. This is a pastime that conditioned souls have. We can summarize the history of this planet in one sentence. Bad people criticizing bad leaders. And Srila Prabhupada says, if people are bad, then they cannot elect good leaders. So sometimes we ask, why we have such bad leaders? And Srila Prabhupada says, because we are not good. Because we are not good. If people have their own standards, higher standards, they will not elect a degraded person as a leader, low class person, because they will want to be led by someone who is in higher consciousness. So he says that people cannot complain because this is the government that they have elected. They have elected. So we are all responsible for the leadership in this planet. People criticize Donald Trump. Donald Trump, there is one leadership expert who says that we created Donald Trump, and all these other leaders that presented themselves as very good, and we didn't notice that they are as Donald Trump, or they are even worse, they just were able to behave a little better. He's just blunt. He's so blunt, so direct, and that's why people are disgusted with him. But these other leaders were not better. They were not better. They were doing so many things secretly, behind the scenes, and again, accumulating a lot of money, trying to accumulate some fame. But of course, if you are a leader, people will also criticize you. But a lot of money, and having so many businesses, and taking advantage of the position of the President of the United States, because then you can secure your future for the whole life if you make so much money in these 4 years. And there is a big show of elections also in America and in other places, and every year they elect someone that they criticize later, and then they dethrone later. So this is the situation of this planet. And if you know the truth, if you know what you are doing, then you will also not follow a false leader. You will not follow a false leader. You will follow someone who is Krishna conscious, who is following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, and who is an example, and who is also a caring person, knowledgeable and caring. So now in this verse, I'll just see the time. In this verse, there is a mention of a new way of life, of a new hope. So, one indication when we see the thunder and the lightning, one reminder from God through this very intense phenomena can be that this phenomena is reminding us that we need to change. How many of you are happy with how you are right now? With all your qualities? You are happy with your qualities? Okay. So two of you are happy with your qualities. Now most devotees, they want to improve and to develop more qualities and to give up bad habits and bad qualities. We all want to change, but somehow we are not very successful. Sometimes we practice Krishna consciousness for so many years and we have the same problems, same habits, same challenges, same tests, and same failure to pass them. Same failure to pass them. So, now this verse says life-giving hope. So, how can we become successful in improving ourselves if you want to do that? This is only possible if we take help. Buddha was such a powerful personality and he asked for help. This is the beginning of success. Karpanya dosha pahatasala. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapanam. I am now your disciple, and so surrender unto you. Please instruct me. So he asked for help. The beginning of success is that we ask for help. You may be living day to day and trying to be Krishna conscious, trying to serve Krishna, trying to serve your guru, trying to serve your family, but you are not really satisfied. Something is missing. And you're not taking all the help that is available through the parampara, through the shastra, through other devotees who are more experienced, and even through your guru. Of course, sometimes guru has too many disciples, so maybe not always accessible, but there is other sources where we can take help, and we somehow don't take advantage. Sometimes people come to me and say, oh, I really want to do this life coaching and you can help me and I want to achieve my goals. And a greater number of devotees express their desire to come for coaching than the real number that comes to me. So fewer devotees come for a real session, but many say, oh, that would be great to have this, to work on my goals. It will be really great. And then they are afraid to come because when we speak, they will confront their own life, their own consciousness, their own desires, their own feelings, their own thoughts. And they have to become more clear about what they want and how they will work on it, how they will going to achieve it. So people are afraid, even alone or with somebody else, to confront what they need to change. They want to change, but they are afraid to even look at this. What is it? Imagine when you could open your heart and then you try to see what is it that I need to change. Oh my God, there is something here, this and that. There is like 25 things I need to change. But how can you start change if you want to work on your change? You can take one thing and then work on one thing for some time. And then you will achieve success, and then you can go to another thing. And you can take assistance of someone, or you can try to do it alone, or with the help of books, or some audio tapes, listening, learning. But the point is to consciously work on improving yourself, so becoming a better human being, better devotee, more pleasing to Krishna. In the Shastra there is so much about how much Krishna wants us to have good qualities. It is said in one verse that self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets cannot be attained by those who are not compassionate to others. So if we work just on developing more compassion, it will be very pleasing to Krishna. Then another verse in the 11th canto says that if you give what is most dear to you to Krishna, you earn eternal life. So think about what is most dear to you. Is it your family? Is it your money? Is it your house? Is it your feedback? What is it? And are you ready to offer it to Krishna? Because maybe he wants it as an expression of your love. And the result would be that you earn eternal life. So the payoff is great, is huge, if you give what is most dear to you. We are afraid to give even something that we don't need. You have clothes maybe in your drawer that you don't even need, but you think, oh, maybe I will wear it, or maybe my daughter will wear it, or my son, and I keep it there. But some people have no clothes, and your clothes is in your drawer, in your closet, and you are afraid to give it because you will maybe think, I will need it in the future, but you already have so much clothes. So we are afraid to give even things that we don't need, what to speak of giving what is most dear to us. I remember people were coming to Bhaktivedanta Manor, and there is a washing room where is washing machines, and they bring their old clothes for devotees. And once I was giving class at the manor, and there was some of the people who come, and I said that it's nice that you are giving donation in the form of your used clothes and old clothes, but are you ready to give your silk sari or your golden embroidered sari, or your jewels for the deities? Are you ready to give that? And then nobody said anything anyway, yes or no. And I said, but if you do that, Krishna will be very pleased. Because anyway this belongs to Krishna. All these jewels and all these clothes. So if you give it as an expression of your love, is a sacrifice, as a gesture, then you can change your consciousness. You can improve. So thank you very much for listening. We have 5 minutes for questions. This is it. Yes?
Thank you very much for your very inspiring words. They're very different. The question I have is, you spoke about life coaching program.
Yes.
So in my professional and spiritual life also, I attended many programs, and I found very few programs where feedback system was integrated into it.
Feedback?
Yeah, feedback system was integrated into the program. So we go for a coaching, we go for a training, the instructor will tell you, don't you do that, you do this, do these points, and after that there is no feedback system. So do you have feedback system integrated?
I have feedback system for those who want it, but you cannot force it. You cannot enforce it on people. Feedback system. I have a wonderful feedback system. For example, are you married?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to know how to be a better husband, whom will you ask? Where you will look for feedback?
My wife.
Your wife. So that's tougher than you ask me for feedback, what kind of husband you are. So this is a very simple system of feedback, but it's very effective.
But I'm talking about when you give instructions, you have to gauge the result. So how do
What?
you gauge it?
What?
When you give instructions or go for this type of program, it is your responsibility also to make sure that your students are moving forward or they are following what has been instructed to them. How do you gauge that?
I have a system, I follow up, I check on them, but again, I cannot force them, they are not kids. You know, I cannot supervise them as you supervise kids in the nursery. We agree for some kind of supervision, and then if they're serious, I continue with that. And those who agree with supervision, they definitely make progress. You know, so we check on things, they report to me. We have that, but not everybody wants that. So those who don't want, I don't force. So have you tried life coaching with somebody? Have you tried life coaching with somebody? No? Did you have a coach?
Me?
Or you are a coach, maybe? Yeah, you.
Yeah.
You have tried?
I tried and I was a coach in my company where I was working.
Okay.
So this was a common complaint with my students, you know. They asked me. And then we designed a wonderful feedback system for all of them. And then they were
Can you send me this?
use the program.
Yeah. I would like to learn this feedback system. Maybe I can implement it if possible in ISKCON with devotees I coach. I'm always learning new things to improve. So definitely after the class or during Prashadam, I can give you my email, and then I would request you if you can send me this. Is it in English?
Actually, right now I'm not working. I'm out of job for the last 4-5 years now. So I have to check in my RT.
If you can find it and send it to me, I'm interested to learn about this feedback system, definitely.
So most of the corporates, they have this system now, feedback system already.
Okay, so thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
To you then, if you want, I can send it to you. So.
I don't know what the quality. Whose phone is it?